I think it's just kind of amazing or serendipitous that the two of you came together in light of both of your connections to
Yeah.
Les. Now,
Yeah.
Adam, you knew Les most of your life, and your dad, the legendary and Grammy Award winning producer Joel Dorn, and my friend and mentor, as I always say when I sign off. Joel worked extensively with Les. They were also very close friends. I remember him telling me just how close they were. And then you, Joe, in addition to Les, it's almost like you got the trinity of I'm serious. Mentors and
Yeah.
influencers. I mean, my God, Ahmad Jamal, Ramsey Lewis, and Les. That's a beautiful thing. Now, that said, and having Les in common, how did the two of you decide to collaborate on this project? Because I love it.
Oh, I'm so glad. Well, I guess like, for me, with when Les passed away, this huge void was in my life. We spoke
Hmm.
like every day for 12 years. So I was
Wow.
just so, and I remember trying to fill that void by like going to like Adam's Instagram page because he was the another person like sharing memories of Les, and Les had told me about Adam and his dad a lot, and but we never connected before Les passed. And then so we, I guess similarly, we just sort of connected through sharing memories of Les after he passed. And
Hmm.
coincidentally, I had a Adam was in Atlanta for a concert or for a film that he had scored, a
Hmm.
premiere, and we went out to eat, and like we just like it was amazing, like right away. It was one of those meals where like the waiter has to come like three times, like, have you looked at the menu yet? We were having so much fun. And he came to a concert that I had while he was in town, and I think there's something about that kind of gave him the idea really that we should do more together. And then he
Yeah.
he mentioned something to me, and I was just, of course I would love to.
Yeah.
So it was really, yeah.
Kim, you'll love this. After the concert, I was like really excited because he had like a great trio, and
Hmm. Oh, yeah.
they just really like it just harkened back to just an era of jazz that just makes you feel good,
Hmm.
and the audience loved it. And in the glow, the afterglow of the show,
Hmm.
I went up to Joe like backstage, and I was like, "Hey, we're gonna make a record." And it was that typical, you'll love this, Kim. It was like that typical, like I had just moved back to the East Coast from
Oh,
LA, and
no.
LA is all like, "Hey, we're gonna get together. This is gonna happen, baby." Like whatever. And meanwhile, I said it, and I was like, "We are gonna make a record." Joe and I met, and it's true. The waiter actually came back like 4 or 5 times to the table because when you start telling Les McCann stories and you start talking about creating with him and just being friends with him and
Hmm.
insane, how insanely funny
Oh,
and
God, yeah.
inappropriate.
You said
I'm just saying,
inappropriate. You're right. He was a
I,
mess.
he was
He was a mess.
Les Les he was known to wear a dashiki without underwear. Let's just
Oh,
put it in
that one I
yeah.
never heard. That one I
Yeah.
never heard. Just some of my
No.
favorite tunes. I love it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's so Les.
Yeah.
Burning Coal.
Yeah.
Not exactly, because I don't know if you use samples or exactly. Tell me, guys, how did the music come together and evolve? Because when I was listening to it, I said, well, this sounds like some outtakes from Les McCann, or it could be something from Les that's in the vault, or, at some points, Joe, I can't distinguish between you and Les McCann, so educate me on this. This is like,
Well, for me, I mean, first of all, those audio clips you hear of Les talking,
hmm.
those
Yeah.
come from our conversations. He always encouraged me to record our chats. We had this fake podcast we had where we have like 15 hours of talking, and the album actually opens with Les laughing, and that's
Yeah.
Les laughing at my dad telling him a joke.
Hmm.
um, so basically every few days Adam would send me a new groove, and he would ask me to send him some solos playing over that groove. So I would always, I had so much fun playing over these grooves,
Hmm.
and I would send him like four or five solos, and he would basically take the catchiest parts of those solos and turn them into a song and a
Wow.
melody. So yeah, I mean, hearing back what he did with my work was really mind blowing. I'm like so amazed at what Adam does. Truly, I think he
Mm.
should probably speak more to what how this actually came together though, musically.
We don't have this kind of club environment anymore, like in the 60s, where folks would have a tough week and on Friday night they'd go see Ramsey, or
Absolutely.
they go see Ahmad, or they go see Les. And I thought to myself, all right, this might piss off some traditionalists, but let's try to make this feel like it happened then. But it's obvious that it didn't, but it doesn't matter. It's about a vibe. And so it's this hopefully delicate balance between a love letter to an era, but musicianship and the freedom and that groove that I feel is just like missing. I don't want to say it's missing from jazz, because jazz grows and it's not celebrated enough in the music as it's being released in a way. Like I refer to a lot of times people feel like jazz is a four-letter word, or jazz should be complicated. And I'm like, Joe and I are like, no, like Les was always about like, these people came to hear you and they've spent their good money and they want to feel better about maybe a bad week they had, or they want to feel entertained. And I think the whole idea of this record was to use this like device of you're in an era, but you're not, but you kind of are. Like the ethos of the record is this love letter to Les and a love letter to late 60s, early 70s groove music. And it's played.
I don't know if I picked up on this. Joe, did you tell me, how did you manage to, get mentored by Les and Ahmad Jamal and Ramsey Lewis?
I had a great opportunity when I was in college. I went to NYU in New York, and I started an internship actually just at the Blue Note in the office. I was just working in the office, and after a while, they came to know my playing, and they'd start to give me opening act opportunities for musicians that they thought that person's audience might like me. So that's how I met Ramsey and Les. When we first met, he said, if you want to be my student or whatever, I want you to write a song a day for a month, but none of them can be at the piano.
Wow.
And I didn't understand why at first, but then it became clear, and he confirmed this, was that he always felt that if you sit down at the piano and say, I'm going to write a song, your brain will think, what can my fingers do? But if you're not at the piano, the first thing that will happen is you'll just sing what's in your heart. And Les always felt like there's too much, that like the ultimate goal is connecting your heart and your mind when you play. And he felt like too many people were only listening to their mind and not their heart. And he like really impressed that on me. I remember he said, how much do you practice a day? And I remember thinking, oh, he's going to like this. And I said, 6 hours a day. And he looked at me like I was crazy. He's like, what are you doing? And I was like, what? And he said, that's way too much. I'm thinking, your piano here tells you practice too much. And he was like, man, you got to go out and live a little so you have something to play about.
Yeah.
that was Les to me.
That's so Les. Yeah. I just love everything about that, man, because it's just like he grabbed life by both hands, and he could be inappropriate and outlandish, but I never felt, I heard him say stuff to people and I was like, if I said that, there would be police officers here in like 10 minutes. You know what I mean? No, dead serious. Like, especially on the gig, in the afterglow of a gig when he was exuberant and excited. But like, yeah, and you know what I mean? But it would just be like, I mean, Joe's heard this story a million times, Kim, but like, he literally, during a bass solo every night on this one run of dates in Boston, he went and did this whole Don Rickles routine on me during my bass solo. Right?
God.
And I'm just like, this is entertainment. This is the music, and people are laughing and they're rooting for you, because he set up this insult comic thing with my bass playing. But when I hit it, he was like, all right, give it up. This guy is going off. Like, then he got the place roaring for me. And then I overstayed my welcome and he started ripping me apart. He's like, the bass player needs to know when to leave and when to stop. And he's not leaving. He's overstaying his welcome.
Oh my.
It was amazing. It was like, you got to learn on the gig, but you also got to just enjoy yourself.
What I'm thinking about, the two of you stand on really big shoulders. And Joe, you have three. No, I mean, really, it's amazing. And of course, you, Adam, with your dad and continuing his legacy. And I just know he would be he would be over the moon about this project. He really would, because it was it's soulful. Again, it harkens back to Atlantic Records when your dad was a staff producer, and he just did so many incredible records like Swiss Movement and whatnot. And wow, what do you want your listeners to take away from this project?
I just want them to have fun. To me, it's like jazz. I didn't get into jazz through academia. To me, it was like we'd be at a barbecue and my dad would put on some Oscar Peterson and everything just felt better. And but I've noticed that a lot of people around my age don't relate to the music that way. And I just hope this helps them relate to the music in that sort of way. It's really just makes everything around you feel better. So I just hope it makes people dance and smile and feel good.
Absolutely.
That's what I wanted too.
Absolutely.
I would say that I am experiencing something interesting. And Joe, you and I haven't actually spoken about this, but I have some friends. I'm in my early to mid 50s. I'm 54 years old.
Get out.
And get out. All right. And I have a bunch of friends and sort of acquaintances that have heard the record. And what's amazing from folks my age, because I love that this is a multi-generational record. You got Les, me, and then Joe, basically. It's 3 generations. And what I'm hearing from a lot of folks, and this is hopefully across the board, and this is twofold because I have a second part to this, but what I'm hearing from a lot of folks my age is the following. Why haven't I heard music like this in the last 20 years? Why haven't I heard records made like this that celebrate this thing? And I love it because to me, it's kind of like I feel like I'm a running back and I see some space between the linemen and this there's some light for folks that think they don't like jazz that can love a record like this. Exactly. And there's really light for folks who love jazz to be reminded that it can also be this.
Well, thank you again. This is basically what people need to hear around this time. I'm not going to get into what's happening in the world, but really people need more joy, more soul, and something that is just really uplifting. And again, thank you, Joe and Adam.
Thank you.
Yeah, because again, you just don't hear that anymore.